Hey guys, now we get into ACT science. So let me give you a little overview of the section, and then I'm going to start to introduce you to the first of the three steps that we use on every single question. So ACT science is simulating almost what it would be like if you were a professor or a PhD student, and you are working at a university, and you go home with 60 experiments in a pile, and you got to get through them over the weekend and make sense of them all. It's like speed reading through experiments and studies, and you got to be able to make sense of it pretty quickly and kind of a sea of information. If you take an ACT science without any training, the first time you do it, you're just gonna be like, how the hell am I supposed to do this so quickly? There's too much going on. I don't know what it's talking about. But with a little bit of training, you can get used to it very quickly and know exactly how to handle it. I'll also say that ACT science, you're taking the ACT to get into college. You'd think, okay, this should be like college level science, right? It's not. It's like sixth or seventh grade level science with some occasionally slightly confusing wording. Um, just a little weird wording sometimes to cover up the fact that it's actually so simple what's going on underneath it. And as you get better and better at science, you will learn to trust your instincts and be willing to quickly trust the steps you took to the problem, circle the answer, and move on, even though you're not 1,000% sure the answer you chose. You can come back to it at the end if you have time, that question that you're unsure about. And what often happens is you don't have time to come back, but all your instincts are right and you got the questions correct. So here we go. And brief overview used to have 7 passages with 40 questions. Now it's 6 passages with 40 questions. Still 40 questions, 35 minutes. Timing wise, you want to, don't worry about this at the start when you're still getting used to the speed, but later on, when you've gotten used to the speed, you want to aim for it to spend about 5 minutes per passage. And just know that there's always one passage which we call the competing theories passage. And it's where there's sort of a scientific debate going on. Slightly different technique for that one. I'll show it to you in a subsequent video. And there we go. See this, student 1, student 2, student 3, they're having a debate. So just a slightly different passage. The rest are studies and experiments. That's the ACT science overview. Now let's get into, there's going to be 3 steps that you use on every single question to cut through the noise of all the information going on in the passage and take you right to the key terms that you need to look up to get the questions correct. So in ACT science, except for that one competing theories passage, all the others, you want to skip the passage and go straight to the questions. Most students read the passage first, they get confused, they don't really know what they're reading about, they get a little disheartened. We go straight to the questions because there's a code in each question that's telling you where to go back and look. And I'm going to show you how to find that. So the first part of the code, brings us to step 1 in our 3-step process of going through these questions. So the first thing you do, you don't read the question, you scan it for what we call a map phrase. A map phrase, as its name suggests, tells you where to look. And so if you look at question 9 right here, it says based on table 1. All right, we're going to go look at table 1. Question 12 here says based on figure 2. Okay, we're going to go look at figure 2. These are simple map phrases. Very obvious where you're going to have to go look to find the information you need to answer the question. Here's what's a little less obvious, some key phrases that you want to have memorized. Based on the results means look at the tables or graphs. Not the introductory text in the beginning, not the text above the table or graph. It's going to be data in the tables or graphs. So let me see if we can find you any based on the results. Yeah, let's see question 6 here. It says the results of study 4. That means what's in the table. It does not mean so much what's in the text above it. So based on the results means look at the tables and graphs. The specific tables and graphs they're referring to. Another map phrase you want to know is based on the information or the passage. That means look at the introductory text. the text right at the top of the passage at the start of it. Based on the information, based on the passage, that sounds like it could be anywhere, right? But it actually means the introductory text. Very good to know. And then lastly, we have based on study or experiment. And that means go look at that particular study experiment, both the tables and graphs and the text above it under that study. So based on the results, go to tables and graphs. Based on the information of the passage, you're going to go back to the introductory text as you start to answer the question. And based on the study or the experiment means go to that study or experiment, and you're going to take in both what's in the tables and graphs and the text right above the tables and graphs underneath that study or experiment. So that is step 1 in ACT Science. You're going to scan the question for the map phrase, and that is going to guide you on where to look in the following steps to get the information you need to answer the question. All right, steps 2 and 3 coming up next.